investigator thing, how important has it been to you? Has it caused this sense of needing to be a chameleon before you come out? So how do you experience this investigator nature?
I'll speak to it. I am one-line dominant. So I have 10 one-lines in my chart, and 9 of them are conscious. And maybe even the fact that I have a doctorate really speaks to the fact that I absolutely love to get information when I'm interested in the subject. I don't know if y'all agree with that or not. I've realized that I can't turn that on for anything. It'd be lovely if I could, but it's really only when something interests me that I'll go straight down that rabbit hole. I've also found that when I'm so interested in something and I do reach out to my network and I start talking about it, and people are kindly trying to give me information, I'm like, nope, I've already found that. Like the depth that we can go into. Have y'all experienced that? It's been just kind of wild to me.
Yeah, I would say the exact same. And what Danny was saying about being the chameleon and kind of standing back at first and really observing and taking it all in before reacting or acting. Yeah, definitely agree.
What about, do y'all even, some of the things that resonate with me with the one line too is kind of like the fear of not knowing enough too. Like I've never really thought of it in the chameleon manner, but it's more like, oh, I just don't know enough because I just look so deep that I start looking at people who have like the nichest like PhDs, right? And so of course I don't know as much as they do, but it's almost like I have had to realize that like I'll do that comparison to these super, super, super experts when I'm not trying to be just an expert in that, and that's okay. And I know a lot more and trying to use my voice to share what I do know already. A lot of times before I'm ready to do it. Have you guys experienced that?
Yeah, so like we're in force, and I'm always like at the beginning with new people, I'm just observing and listening. I'm not sure if you experience the same, but like I'm just listening to your story. I'm very intrigued because I do feel the same. But what I notice now is that once I feel like this, I react to something and then I get this very deep urge to investigate. And it's something else, like now I have to investigate something for a client. And it's like, I really have to push myself. It's not the same as something that I'm like passionate about. It's like, it's completely different. I get lost for hours and like, I only want to be in that kind of rabbit hole. Yeah, so that's my experience a little bit.
Yeah, you kind of tunnel vision, don't you? Once you're hooked onto something, you're like, I need to know more. Where else can I find more information?
Nothing more important than that kind of subject at that point, at least for me. Yeah, I don't know what about you guys.
Yeah, and I cross-reference all the resources and information that I'm getting. I'll cross-reference that. I'll try and work out, does it make sense? And yeah. Also, I try and challenge ChatGPT with questions sometimes just to see.
Oh, that's cool.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
I haven't gone
sometimes, sometimes you need to ask it a couple of times in different ways for it to give you the answer that you're actually looking for. If you know the answer but yeah. It's interesting. Love it. Mm-hmm.
What about you, Rachel? Anything you've noticed over the past year?
Well, I've always just really been. Sorry, I don't know. Janica, is that your name? I'm sorry. What you said before, just observe and listen to people. Like my job a lot, when we hire new people, they usually have me kind of figure them out, like spend some time with them and just observe them and figure out who they are.
That's kind of cool to be in a group with you guys because I normally do the same thing. I'm normally not the talker in the group. So it's a little interesting to be in this dynamic. And I'm like, oh, I'm the one talking so much. And I'm like, wow, I am not normally like this. But obviously we've got good energetic connection. So you're bringing out my voice. Thank you.
That's lovely.
Moving on. That was wonderful, guys. I'm so glad you did that. Speak up when, just say the things and you'll notice you're all introspective. So that was a hard question in a way. Do you notice yourself externalizing these foundations you develop? This is almost like a no-brainer in a way. Externalizing is this act of having to say. The having to say is this act of doing it within your network first. It's never just out to the world, not never, but out to the world is not satisfying. To the last friend you were influential with and talking to that agreed with you and had something going on, that's your first call. So do you notice yourself? And by the way, the energy you were speaking to, Yannicka, like when you, right, especially as a generator, but all the types, if suddenly your creative pulse says, I don't wanna, you're not in the mood. And that's true. And now your energy is only flying at half mass, right? And it's really, it's like not working well. But the energy to be a fourth line, and that fourth line externalizes into a network that it's friendly with, it befriends, it networks, and then it becomes influential through what it externalizes. Do you notice yourself, your guys' self, externalizing these foundations and the things that you develop, an authority on?
I don't know if I can answer that.
I would say that yes, I do. I notice, especially since we're fourth line designs and it's unconscious. So I'm not sure how it hit for y'all when you first found your chart, but I was really surprised by my fourth line. It's only my unconscious sun and earth, and then I have my unconscious Jupiter. So I don't have a lot of fourth line energy, but again, it's in that incarnation cross, so it's a big part of who I am. And I had to really think through, is this me? Do I do this? And then I have been able to witness over the past 5 years that it is always my friends that I go to first. The concept of trying to get clients in, I don't like it when random people just come in. I'm just like, whoa, I don't know you. I need to know you first. And the best kind of connections even are just if one of my close network has referred me to somebody and they can bridge that gap for me, then I'm like, oh, okay, you're safe. We're good. We're going to be fine. But yeah, I love to talk out to the people that are my closest friends. Voice notes are my favorite thing. And that's where I see it kind of come into play for me.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I would, sorry.
Oh, no, go for it, Emma.
No, and you go. You go.
It's like typical 1-4 behavior. No, we're all...
Sorry.
No worries. So I think I only externalize my foundations if they feel very solid. I think even sometimes I feel almost like a private person. If it's something really important to me, I will not externalize it till I feel safe to do it, with either my network or somebody that's very close to me. And yeah, so sometimes I can spend investigating for a very, very long time before I externalize actually. And sometimes this one person pops up and needs my info and it feels safe, and then it's the moment, right? Yeah. Or it's something I'm really excited about and I just want to share with somebody I love. And sometimes it can take months for me to put it out in the world. Yeah. What about you guys?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would probably say that unless I fully know and trust the person, I probably internalize a lot more than externalize. But I think that's probably a lot to do with conditioning as well. Obviously, being a manifestor, I should be using my throat a lot more, which, yeah, it's a process. Yeah. What about yourself, Rachel? Do you internalize?
I used to definitely always 100% would internalize everything, and I've just recently, the last few months, really tried to externalize things and use my connections and networking to connect, really, I guess.
Yeah. I have started a podcast about human design so that I could share, and that's obviously how I've met Mo. And then the amount of connections I've made through that, I would say definitely fits in with the externalizing. But yeah.
And what about it? Like, does it feel safe for you to, like, because from the podcast, there are probably also people from without your network. Like, how does that feel? Do they feel
So
now, or like, how do you?
I had I had one call with someone who was like outside of the network. It was a bit challenging. They were a different human design type to me as well. And previous to that, everybody that I've spoke to have been a manifestor and from the manifestor community. So it's been lovely to see how that's all come together and the amount of people that all know each other. And yeah, I can see how it's all starting to knit together. It's nice. Really nice.
Yeah, it's interesting just sort of throwing you guys into this. Sorry for any uncomfortable silences, but deal with it. And we love you, and there's nothing but love in this room. Just, I guess, always remember that. So last question. You know what? Come back, because I might have a follow-up question, or I might not. Have you noticed yourself abdicating? I love this one. Abdicating in situations that either lack the opportunity or the conflict. There's some kind of conflict, even minor, mundane, that might disturb the flow of the network. Do you ever find yourself abdicating, giving up a spot? All right, never mind. I'll go along, that type of thing, or just like in a conversation, you just sort of back out without really standing up for your position. Have you done that? Have you noticed you do that? Have you ever felt bad about doing that? So try that one.
So I definitely have noticed that I abdicate when situations are lacking or there's conflict involved.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I haven't though, like it's got to the stage where there's been chaos and I've had no other option but to abdicate. But yeah, I definitely would say that's true. I noticed that.
I'm right there with you with the conflict. If there's conflict, it's immediate abdication.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
So first of all, like, abdicating is a new word for me. I never heard of this word before. So the first, I think it's a 1-4 thing. Like, in me, it's like, I need to research this word. I don't know the complete meaning, but
that's what I did as soon as I saw it.
Me too. I didn't know what it meant either.
So like think about like the royals used to abdicate the throne. Like they just leave. It's like peace out. I'm done. That's kind of the concept of what that means.
Oh, but that also feels a little bit like, I mean, we all have innocent motivation, right? As a war, because we're a bridging profile. So it's like, I think I feel with that as well, like the detachment, it feels a little bit like that sometimes. Like I'd rather be detached from a situation than be in the conflict. Like I rather sit on the hill and be the fool and watch the fight down below instead of being in the fight. I'm not interested in that. Like I'm not sure. What about you guys? How do you experience that?
I think that's perfect. I totally agree with that. I was kind of thinking about that earlier, that, I don't like to stand up for a lot of the more polarizing concepts that end up in the world, right? Like I'm just like you. I'm kind of like just watching everything and just observing, and it's been nice to know about human design because there are people who are so passionate and have that voice, and they have concepts of their design that they can really speak on it. And yeah, I guess some of that fourth line just kind of makes me be like, no, not for me. Thank you. Everyone else can do that. I'm going to figure out like how to make us all like come together.
Yeah, no, this all makes sense, and I'm glad you guys are seeing that. And I'll stay online. Oh, someone's got a question here. Cool. How do you experience your quality of life in relationship to the quality of your social network? Yeah, so the degree to, and listen, so whenever we start our human design experiment, no matter how long we've been in it, we always have to start somewhere. We just start seeing it. Um, so at that time when that happens, wherever we start, you have to realize it doesn't feel good at first, certain things. And so when I read this question, how do you experience your quality of life in relationship to the quality of your social network? Please give us the easy expression if there is one, and give us the hard one. If it's hard, spit it out if you can. And I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
I would say for me as an ego manifestor, it's definitely hard. I actually struggle to see where some of it is until I started doing the podcast and things like that. But yeah, out with that, I would say I struggle with like a social network of any kind. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I've read about the fourth line is obviously just the quality of our network is so important. And, I learned human design in May of 2020, and just the world was so different. And, from some of that, I ended up shifting out of my clinical career, and I was kind of in a new city, and it was just, I sort of didn't have a network at the time. So I've had to build it over the past 2 years. So within my human design experiment, I've been able to build a network that really does feel good. I'd say my family is my biggest opportunity at this point, still to work within a network that will really trigger me and bring opportunities for more awareness and everything. I did have a situation a couple weeks ago where I was able to reconnect with an old high school friend that I hadn't seen in 7 years, and we sort of had a parting of ways. It was never anything ugly or anything like that. We just were moving in different directions. I moved cities and didn't live in my hometown, and we just lost touch. And it was a little nerve-wracking to think about getting back in touch. And I was curious to be involved with what I consider an old network, like an old version of myself, I guess. And it was really nice. I was very surprised by that. So, that's kind of the experience I've had. I know that's not like the best answer. I just haven't had to be in a network at this point in my life that I haven't created. I'm very, very grateful for that. Because I can imagine how hard that would be if you were like, oh, this network is not aligned with me anymore.
My social networks have always been very small. I've never had like huge groups of friends. It's just too much. But I found myself over the years, I guess it's kind of made it easier as I've shifted my life into a different direction. It's kind of easier just to part ways with them, and it's easier, I guess, to part ways with a few that don't align rather than a whole bunch.
Yeah, so for me, I have a lot of different experiences actually in relationship wise. And for me, I'm a sleeping phoenix, and my cross is all about deep connections. And what I noticed is early in my life, I had a lot of hardships, like family wise and parent wise. Like I had not an easy growing up, but it kind of taught me as well, like a lot of things about relationships and like how these kind of things work. And I also had these very incredible deep relationships. For example, I'm 12 years together now with my partner, and actually the networks that I built, I can just tap into them. Even, sometimes they don't hear from me in months, and and it has nothing to do about them, but sometimes I just need to retreat, or I'm in introspection. And then the foundation, that's the most important. I feel like if the foundation is solid, it feels like you can just pick it up again that connection, and as well what you were saying, Michelle, like it might feel scary at first, but I mean, if you feel like the foundation is there, it's like, for me at least, I can feel like, okay, I can just pick it back up, and it's like I don't have to worry about that. But that's for me my experience. And if I feel like, okay, I think I can pick it right back up, and then I feel not good about it, I feel like, okay, then maybe this foundation isn't deep enough. Like I didn't create that solid foundation for myself, because I know with my real connections, I can always come back to them or shift away, or, they know kind of how I work. So, yeah.
I love that. This is really good. And so, Moana, before you take us off, let's see. Oh, there is another question. Do you guys notice let me see. Let me read this myself. Expressions of your conscious authoritarian and your unconscious. Well, yeah. What are you guys doing as it relates to noticing? And Moana, this time leave me in the mix, please. What do you do as it relates to noticing that there's two aspects? Now, Rachel, this may be newest to you, based on what you said in the beginning, but there's two aspects, right? We have an investigator, and then there's something that's separate. It's different. It's not, it's totally separate. And it's this networker that's just friendly. Everyone always sees you guys as friendly. The first thing they notice is potentially friendly. And so you always get approached technically in a mostly friendly manner. You actually attract that. That's separate from this internal, desire to be an authority on a thing, and just this drive to get at a foundation that's very material. It's a very yin material action to get at the root of the matter. So do you notice these two expressions as separate? And I want to stay on for this.
Yeah, I definitely do. Because my one-line energy is so dominant in my conscious design, I joke with myself, like when I'm too far down a rabbit hole and I haven't gone to the network, that I need to put my line 1 in timeout. And I'm going to have to put that aside for a little while. And then I notice myself with social media, I like to walk and talk. And so I'll go out for a walk in the park and just do stories to my network on social media a lot. So I do notice like the difference and the big blend and the different way they express, for sure.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I'm always like, when I'm investigating stuff, I forget that people don't know the information that I know, and I think that it's obvious to everybody. So I don't want to tell them. I don't want to talk to them as if I'm teaching them something or that they already know. So I definitely noticed that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Rachel or Yannicka? Either one?
What you said at the beginning, that when you meet people, they just, I come off as very friendly and approachable. Everything you said, it's completely how I would have, I guess, rephrased the question. My job is I'm a manager, so I have a few people under me, and just very easy to come and talk to me.
Yep. It's always that way. Have you noticed? And is it sometimes fatiguing? Like you don't even know why they're coming to talk to you, Rachel, right?
Yeah. So when I found human design, it actually made me feel a lot more good with who I was. I felt like I felt like everything made more sense.
Rachel, I would love to talk to you offline and start to really dig into the sampling and resistant aura of yours, because it all starts there for a reflector.
Is there any closing things you'd like to add about your design before we get to the party portion of this party?
Yeah, I would like to hook in on what Emma said. Like, I really noticed that, like, the part that you're like without agenda, you're just sharing that information without you almost knowing it. You're like, oh, at least for me. And it's like, and I also feel like the quality of my network, if they come to me for their information, I know, okay, this is a good network, because it means like I can give them information as well. Like, you know, there are opportunities coming on my path from them, but it's also they're also coming to me. It feels really good, you know, if it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, I don't know
Later.
if it's the same for you guys.
Yeah.
I still have to laugh.
I'll take the nodding of head as a yes.